Russia has been moving more of its forces closer to its border with Finland and strengthening its bases in the area. According to media sources, Finland expects Russia to further build up troops along their shared border when the war in Ukraine ends. Let's take a look at the situation for today's video. As reported by the New York Times and others, Russian forces have been beefing up bases and building military infrastructure near the Finnish border. The evidence for this claim? Recent satellite imagery showing this work. The imagery, confirmed by NATO officials, shows row after row of new tents, new warehouses, renovations to fighter jet shelters, and steady construction activity of a helicopter base that had been mostly unused and overgrown. For some, it reveals Russia's strategy and what it intends to do after its war in Ukraine. NATO officials say it's nothing like the build-up along the Ukraine border before Russia's 2022 full-scale invasion, but they have to start somewhere, right? The Finns insist that none of this is much of a threat for now. Major General Sami Nurmi, the head of strategy of the Finnish Defence Forces, was quoted as saying, "They are changing structures and we are seeing moderate preparations when it comes to building infrastructure close to our borders, meaning that they will, once the war in Ukraine hopefully ends, start to bring back the forces that have been fighting in Ukraine, especially land forces." Nurmi says that Russia's build-up along the Finnish border is being done in phases, saying, "I would say it is still moderate numbers. It's not big construction, but in certain places, building new infrastructure and bringing new equipment in, you also have to evaluate whether they are preparing to send more troops to Ukraine or preparing to build up their forces close to our border. But I guess they are doing both." In one sense, Russia is making good on a promise to change its military posture with Finland if it proceeded to join NATO, which it did in 2023. You would think Russia is aware that the move was a defensive measure with no risk of Finland or NATO invading Russia. However, with the way some Russian bots are commenting on YouTube videos, you'd think that NATO had plans to take over the country, an obviously laughable notion. As for how Finns are reacting to the news, The Guardian reports that citizens are somewhat accustomed to the looming threat from its eastern neighbour. Suvi Aksela, Communications and Organisation Manager for the Finnish Women's National Emergency Preparedness Association, said the border build-up was not a big talking point in Helsinki, telling the media, "We are used to hearing stuff from Russia, like all these threats, and we knew once we joined NATO that they were going to build up presence on the border, and they probably will, just because it's Russia." So while the news isn't directly impacting the Baltics, it's the kind of development that has people in this region reminding the world that Russia cannot be trusted, no matter what kind of promises it makes. It also justifies continued training and military investment for Finland and the three Baltic nations. But what are your thoughts on the Russian military build-up near the border with Finland? Let us know by leaving a comment.